Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And finally, it is a new set of tapings, a new journey begins. This episode of NXT, I had a lot of fun with it. We had some solid matches, little bit of storyline progression. We kind of know where we're going to go in the future, and a very fun main event with Shinsuke Nakamura. Ashton, what'd you think of it?
This was a kind of a middle-of-the-road show for the most part, but the main event was awesome.
I agree. I mean, Shinsuke Nakamura, the thing about it is he has got such a personality and a charisma of such a magnitude that I think he elevates any match that he's in simply because he's in it.
Well, and I agree with you, but I also think we need to give a lot of credit to Tye Dillinger because he is so underrated.
I'm not going to shortchange him here. I had no intention. I felt like his character work was on point tonight.
And between that and the interview that he had earlier on in the night and the interactions with the crowd, like, the fact that he isn't on the main roster right now is criminal to me.
See, and my thing is, what's criminal is he's not in a more prominent spot on NXT, because I think on Raw, it would be
I think
the
main reason I say that is because it looks to me like even in NXT, he's never really going to be more than a mechanic. So if he's going to be a mechanic, he's probably the best mechanic in the company right now. Put him on the main roster and let him make everyone up there look amazing.
Yeah, I could certainly agree with you there. I mean, and that's another. See, it's so funny when you've got a guy like Kalisto as U.S. champion. If Tye was to be called up to the main roster, I would at least want to see him get in a program, even if he ultimately wouldn't win the belt with Kalisto.
Well, that would be a really good way to kind of delay, Kalisto dropping the title to Cena, is to have him look strong against Dillinger, and then Cena comes back, and Kalisto and the U.S. title have been built up to at least a respectable level.
I mean, because that perfect 10 gimmick is money. Like,
I agree with you that the gimmick is money, but what makes it money is the person doing it in the first place.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, Dillinger just puts his back into it, man. Yeah. And like, he believes every word that he says. Like, to me, you take a gimmick like that, and it's either going to be really cheesy and hammy and over the top, or it's going to be deadly serious. I think Dillinger walks that line to perfection. More on the comedic side a little bit, but still, like, there's that believability there when he talks about, like, how good he is. And then he goes out and he has, great matches. I have my fun with Tye Dillinger, of course, but in all sincerity, like, the guy's a quality performer, and he does deserve more than he's got, whether it be in NXT or going up to the main roster or whatever. He just deserves more, and that's where you and I can definitively agree. But with that said,
I feel like Dillinger is in a place where, like, he should be in Heath Slater's spot right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And that's not even me trying to take anything away from Slater, but I'm saying, like, Heath Slater has kind of put in the time. He's great at making other people look good, and what does he get? He gets his own little faction. He gets TV time regularly. I feel like Dillinger should be at that spot as well. Not instead of Heath Slater, but on top of Heath Slater, as well as Heath Slater.
Exactly, because you're talking about a guy, and a little fun fact here, and it's funny that we're talking so much about Dillinger, but the guy's so good, because he dominates conversation. You're talking about the guy that worked Sami Zayn's return match, and now he worked Nakamura's NXT debut, on TV tonight. So
here's a little controversial statement.
Okay.
I think you could swap Tye Dillinger and Dolph Ziggler right now, and it would be a net improvement.
I have to agree. I think the thing with Dolph is it's all a matter of mileage. I feel like he's kind of exhausted whatever really made him good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever really going to get in that spot again of being a world champion. That's just my prognosis. I could be way off base. I have been about a million other things. I just don't see it. I think if you got a guy like Tye Dillinger with the perfect 10 gimmick up on the main roster, like you said, he'd be the best mechanic. You could put him in a program with Kalisto. The Miz is the IC champion right now, but hell, if, like, say, hypothetically, Cesaro would win it or Zack Ryder would gain it back, whatever the case may be, Dillinger would still be a great fit. It's just he is so primed for that spot. I don't know why he's around in NXT, because at first I thought, well, maybe they might push him. That clearly hasn't happened yet, and I honestly don't know why, because I think this gimmick is just so great for the Full Sail crowd. But yeah, it's neither here nor there. But we can resume talking about Dillinger during the main event segment. For now, though, let's start with our first segment, Heat of the Night. And I don't really have any heats of the night tonight. This is a fun episode of NXT. I was very eager to get to the new stuff, and I liked what they delivered. Yeah, just no complaints here. What about you, Ashton?
No, I don't have any heats of the night. The only real nitpick that I would have is that it felt like a very kind of, treading the water, spinning your wheels kind of show where nothing really developed, and we just got a bunch of promises for the future that didn't actually happen tonight.
Yeah, I would certainly agree. I mean, they're laying the groundwork for something, with a lot of different angles. We don't know what's going to come of any of it.
You know what? I'm going to say to you on TWitWoW now what I said to you earlier in a private conversation. I feel like NXT, the way they tape their shows, and I know that this is actually how they do it, so I'm not trying to say that this is wrong or anything, but it feels like they tape a 4-hour television show and then show it to us 1 hour at a time. Whereas with Lucha Underground, it feels like at every show that we get, it feels like it was meant to be a full 1 hour long show. So even though we're getting an hour of NXT every week and an hour of Lucha Underground every week, it feels like we're getting a full episode of Lucha Underground every week, but it only feels like we're getting like a quarter of an episode of NXT every week, because it feels like they're only giving us a quarter of an episode. Like I don't know, it's hard to explain. It feels like Lucha Underground gives us like a full course, whereas NXT gives us an appetizer one day, and then an entree the following week, and then a dessert the following week, and a drink the following week. Like, we get the full course in 1 week with Lucha Underground, whereas it's spread out over 4 weeks with NXT.
And I think it all comes back to structure.
Yeah.
I really do, because when you have an off season like Lucha Underground has, I think you have that greater sense of urgency to make every episode productive. I mean, look at what Lucha Underground consistently does. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but look at what they do with 1 hour of television weekly. Yeah. I mean, they just move so many stories at once. NXT, I mean, they have some very productive episodes on occasion, but it always seems kind of like in that middle ground when you know that a takeover's coming or just something's coming, and they're year-round. So there are going to be those episodes, even if they are like the start of a new set of tapings, where they just kind of have that pause, that pregnant pause, and then they just go and do their work. I think it all comes back to structure.
It's so funny, dude. We went from NXT basically feeling like a glorified FCW to now it feels like Ring of Honor done by WWE.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you. And the thing is, it's funny because if you look at tonight's Lucha Underground, where, again, I felt like it was a great effort by Lucha Underground. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but, wasn't like one of their astounding, oh my God, caliber episodes, at least to me. But still, compare it to NXT tonight, and while I enjoyed NXT, because Lucha Underground is just so much greater in productivity, I'm more invested and I'm more ready for another helping of Lucha Underground than I am for NXT. Because if they're like taking a pause and not really moving the wheels, then I'm not really too eager either to have a helping of what's going on. But with that said, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff on the show, and I guess we'll get to it in our NXT review. And this show opens up in a way that I know you liked, because you actually explicitly said so, and I liked it as well.
Yeah.
William Regal greets us.
Yep.
Now, I like this because it's a great tone setter, a lot like Lucha Underground had tonight with the Cueto office meeting. This is a tone setter of a different kind. We knew it was a new set of tapings, like, again, new beginnings, all that stuff. And William Regal welcoming us, I think, almost reaffirms that feeling. He says, TakeOver Dallas was a huge success. Thank you for it. So much happened. And the excitement doesn't stop there. It continues tonight, because Bayley's going to be in action, and, Regal more or less just runs down the card. And ending with Shinsuke Nakamura, after one of the greatest NXT matches in the show's history, is competing tonight. And then we go to the show, and how we formally open up the show. Ashton, what do we get here?
We opened up with our first match, Austin Aries versus Angelo Dawkins.
Angelo Dawkins, the curse of greatness, got an entrance. Gotta say, I was surprised by that. I don't know, man. I think Dawkins has an upside Like, I want to like the guy. I don't know, though. I was feeling kind of a disconnect with the entrance. I think he's still trying to find himself a little bit, which is fine. I mean, he's in the right place to do so. But, and that's just the difference. I mean, Austin Aries, being that quote-unquote indie guy, he already comes in, complete. He knows what he's going to do. I dig the theme, by the way. I like Austin Aries' theme. I wanted to make a note of that.
I liked frickin' Angelo Dawkins' theme better, almost.
Yeah, I'll have to listen to that again. That's going to be one of those ones where I can't wait for its, full release with, no crowd noise or anything like that, because I really want to listen to it. But I agree with you, not a bad theme at all. And, they work a match. It was a fine match, but, I mean, you knew Austin Aries was going to go over. I was actually intrigued. Well, what was he going to finish it with? What's the finish? Because at TakeOver Dallas, he won with a roll-up on Corbin. So what's going to be the finish tonight? And we find after a good back and forth between these two, it's actually kind of a discus forearm version of the pounce, because Dawkins is going off the ropes on one side, Aries on the other, and they meet in the middle with the discus forearm. And that's how Aries gets the win. So, yeah, nice opening match. Not really, a competitive matchup there for Aries. Not as competitive as his matches with Dallas at Corbin. So, but he gets the job done regardless, wins with the discus forearm. I mean, do you have any thoughts about this?
Not really. This was a really quick match. I guess this is more meant to show what Aries' actual finisher is, since he couldn't beat Corbin decisively. He beat him with a hiccup. And I guess that they're going to be using the Irish whip into the pounce style rolling elbow.
Which I can dig it. I think it works. I hope that Aries also against, certain types of opponents kind of recalls the Brainbuster and, does that as well, kind of bring that back, but we'll see. And the Last Chancery, we'll see if he brings that at all. But yeah, for now we know pounce-style discus forearm, we'll call it for the time being. So yeah, Aries gets the win, and what's next?
Up next was a Dasha Fuentes interview with Samoa Joe. And Joe's still very angry. He says his mission isn't over, and that next week he brings war to Apollo Crews.
I love that this man isn't emotionally aware.
Yeah.
It's like, I lost twice to Finn Balor, so you probably expect that standard promo where I give credit to the babyface, right? No. I'm still
nice
gonna kill him.
try.
Exactly. I'm still going to rip his head off. I'm still going to choke him out. I'm still going to take my NXT championship. God, I love the intensity of Joe. And yeah, it just gives a great, succinct promo here. Joe's still killing it. Honestly, if he gets a third crack at Balor, I'd have to go with Joe there, too. I hate to keep picking Samoa Joe and being on the losing end. I mean, come on now. How many times? How many times are you going to lose to Finn Balor?
Well, clearly he's not going after Balor again.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you
for
lose
the moment.
Twice in a row without getting a single win over a guy. There's no reason for him to get another shot.
What I could see, I'll agree with you, but I'll tell you what, if Joe's sticking around, maybe we'll get Nakamura versus Joe for number one contendership, and Nakamura beats Joe.
I could see that, yeah. I mean, we'll talk about something that happened later on in the night that already led us down that path, but yeah, that's a good idea.
Definitely, because I agree with you, and I agree with your logic. I mean, if we want the championships to mean anything, I mean, contenders are an important part of that, obviously. It doesn't really make a belt look good when a guy that loses twice, gets a third shot at it. So, Joe facing Nakamura for contendership, and then Nakamura winning really cements Joe's place on the ladder while elevating Shinsuke. So I think that accomplishes a lot. That's what I see happening, but still, great promo work here from Joe. If his main roster call-up is imminent because he'll be done with the NXT title picture, I don't know. Maybe he'll do another program, but he's ready anytime to me. I want to see him maul people everywhere.
Yeah. One of the biggest money feuds the WWE has right now that they are just refusing to even make possible is Joe Lesnar.
Oh, my God. I mean, Jim Ross came right out and said, I want to see that match.
Yeah.
That's a dream match that I have as a fan. And I'm just like, Jim, you're not wrong. I've never been this big of a Samoa Joe fan as I am right now with his WWE work. It's insane. But really great stuff from him here.
Yeah. So up next, we had another No Way Jose vignette video package kind of thing. It was a little longer than usual, but still not tonight. But we did find out he's going to be here next week, so that's going to be exciting. I was hoping it would be this week because from what I understood, it happened very early in the tapings, but I guess not early enough.
But we're going to get it, and it's going to be memorable, to say the least. I'm going to choose a neutral term. That's not necessarily good, not necessarily bad, but I do think he's going to make an impression, and I can't wait to talk about it next week. So what came after this?
Up next was our second match of the night, Alexa Bliss versus Tessa Blanchard.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. When this match started, I wanted to like Tessa, and again, she's in the right place, and I'm gonna give her the time like we do all the acts, but I really wasn't that into it. I mean, you could really tell who the complete performer was, and the one still trying to find their legs in this match, just very early. Tessa may have the pedigree, but she has a long way to go before she gets really anywhere with it where she could use it and channel it and just really get somewhere. Alexa, on the other hand, still loving her heel work, though conspicuous by their absence, Blake and Murphy, not at ringside with Alexa. And I'll tell you, that they went out and they had a match. It was an all right match. I actually did like one thing I noticed about Tessa. She did a lot of finger wagging, maybe Alexa would dodge a clothesline and Tessa would be like, you got me there. So interesting stuff from Tessa, but it just doesn't feel complete yet to me, which I mean is natural, obviously. I just can't wait to see what the finished product will be when she's able to hone her skills, get some polish, all that good stuff.
I hate to tell you this, brother, but she's probably not sticking around.
You don't think so?
Everything that I have heard about Tessa Blanchard is that, yes, she is talented, but she's nowhere near as good as she seems to think she is.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, because commentary even mentioned, all these second and third generation stars are all so incredibly talented. Look at Charlotte. Look at what she did in so little time, and it's because it runs in her veins. And, when you grow up in the business, you pick up on all this stuff. And then, I don't remember which one it was, if it was Phillips or Graves, that one of them said, but one thing we also have to be concerned with, if you look at Charlotte, is that second and third generation superstars also tend to be very entitled. And I was just like, oh shit, they're actually talking borderline shoot here on commentary.
Right.
Because that's everything I've heard about Tessa Blanchard is basically that, yeah, she thinks she is the absolute bee's knees.
Oh, God.
She thinks that she needs to, the fact that she hasn't already been in WWE and been women's champion is a travesty to her. And yeah. So, and now granted, is she good? I thought Bliss was better in this match, but
I did too. No,
yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I highly doubt that she's going to end up working in WWE unless she gets the attitude kind of straightened out, or if the attitude thing turns out to be an untrue rumor, which is possible.
Yeah, I mean, very much possible. But I'm actually kind of relieved you and I are on the same page here, because if somebody was to ask me my honest assessment, is she good? Meh. It would be a thumbs middle for me.
She's not bad.
Well, no, she's not bad by any means, but she's not spectacular.
She doesn't live up to the hype that she has.
I can tell you, and it kind of makes me look bad because I can't necessarily remember their names, but I feel like we've had one-off NXT matches from women, making a impression.
Her name is Evie.
Well, yeah, Evie's one. I know you've been really when is she, whatever. Evie's one. I can think of at least one other. I wish I could remember their name, but yeah, that I've just been more blown away by.
There was a really recent round of WWE women's signings, and I was so disappointed that Evie wasn't a part of them.
Yeah, that's right. There have been a few signings that I'm also eager. And where the fuck is Athena? That's my one. Evie's yours. Athena's mine, because I'm where is that top rope stunner coming into my life?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do like Athena. It's one of those things where she's part of the company now, though. So I have faith in the system that eventually we'll see her. But Evie was on the show once, and we haven't seen her since.
Yeah, screw the system, man. But yeah, I mean, definitely Evie deserves a signing. I mean, I liked her too. I like this new wave of women. Tessa Blanchard, though, give her the curtain call. We don't need to see her again.
For what it's worth, she is only 20 years old.
Tessa now you're talking about. So yeah. I mean, 20, that's incredibly young.
I think Bliss is 22 or 23. They're both crazy young.
Right. And I mean, I love it. I love the youth movement, especially in the women's division. All these young women coming in the game. And look, it takes time. Hopefully, if that attitude is true, it kind of grows out of it and gets some humility going on. If it is, if it isn't true, great. We go about our business, and she just works on honing her skills, polishing everything, and getting better. Because, I mean, I do see something there, and obviously with a last name like Blanchard, you could do a lot with that like they have with...
And she wasn't even just trained by Tully. She was also trained by Magnum TA and a name you and I both recognize from Ring of Honor, Cedric Alexander.
Yeah, there you go. So there's definitely something there.
Yeah, here's to hoping either the attitude problem is just a false rumor and it turns out not to be true and she's actually cool in real life. But even if that's not the case, hopefully she gets it worked out. And, I mean, there's plenty of time. WWE will probably end up signing her eventually.
Yeah, and let me just say this, because I feel like we've sufficiently discussed Tessa Blanchard. On the side of Alexa Bliss,
oh yeah,
God, she's so good. Like,
her facial expressions are ace.
Dude, just the attitude that she exudes and how she owns the character is amazing. Even when she's coming down to the ring, because I tried to notice little things, particularly about the heels tonight, that I'm going to mention throughout the show. And with Alexa, twice she rebuffed fans. I mean, one in particular, a guy was like, I guess going for wanting a high five or whatever. Alexa just, denies him, and he's like, "But why? Why? Like why, Alexa? Why?" And she's just like, "Oh, bah," like, crying face on the apron. It's just, she's so into it. And then when she's like, "Welcome to NXT, Tessa," she's just standing on her head, and the crowd starts up the NXT chant. She's like, "Shut up!" Even though, I mean, she caused it with the whole welcome to NXT thing. And then the facial expression when Tessa Blanchard's like, "Oh, well, now I got you." And then Alexa throttles her by the throat, and those eyes are like, "Bitch, you say to me?" And
that was so good. Oh, yeah, and she drove her down, and I think that was actually the finish, too, because then didn't she hit the backflip double knees and pick up the win?
You bet she did, and then she bullied the ref. "Raise my hand! I already did! Raise my hand!"
And then he does, but not long enough, and he pulls away, and she gives him a look like, "You son of a bitch."
We have talked about Alexa a lot on this podcast, Ash, and I gotta tell you, I mean, my views about, like, her place on the card and how far she can go, that hasn't changed. But if she's sticking around for a while, if they're not in a hurry to call them up, because, I mean, Lord knows it took them long enough with Enzo and Cass, you never know what acts they're just kind of tentative about, or, they're kind of lukewarm on. I would love to see Alexa and Asuka mix it up. I think that'd be a fun matchup. Doesn't even have to be a full-fledged program,
Alexa would not last 5 minutes with Asuka.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Asuka would win and she would do her thing. I just think the character work's been so great from Alexa. Right. And especially because I think you're going to need a palate cleanser for Asuka's reign after you do the whole rematch with Bayley, and people may feel unfavorable towards her because it's Bayley. And
you know what, though? I don't know if Alexa Bliss is the best person for that job, because she's also kind of in that spot where the crowd is really starting to warm up to her, even as a heel. Almost kind of like where Sasha was in, like, the early summer, late spring of last year.
Right.
Like, yeah, she's a heel, and yeah, that when she says certain things that are heelish, the crowd will boo her, but most of the time the crowd likes her. That's kind of where Alexa is right now.
Yeah, maybe
I would say just as soon as Asuka gets past Bayley, just stick her with Eva Marie for a few months.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And then,
just
Nia Jax after that.
Eva. Or Nia. Nia's another option that people don't like.
Yeah. I say you do Eva purely for the crowd reaction, getting that Asuka support, and then Nia, while you'd still get the same support, that your matches would at least be of a higher quality. So,
would they really, though?
I think they could tell a better story than Eva and Asuka would, if for no other reason. I don't know, dude. That's just my opinion. So, but for now, though, Alexa Bliss gets the win. Clearly not happy that the celebration wasn't about her for long enough, and then that's that. So, what happened next?
We had another Dasha Fuentes interview, this time with Finn Balor, and this is what I wanted to talk about earlier. First thing she asks is, who do you think the new number one contender for your world title should be? And Finn gives his, cookie cutter, well, I'm ready to fight whoever William Regal wants to put in front of me kind of answer. But then Dasha immediately says, "Oh yeah, and by the way, are you going to be watching Shinsuke Nakamura's match tonight?" So now I'm connecting the dots. They clearly want us to think about Nakamura in the number one contendership picture.
Oh yeah, I mean
in this interview they brought up both back to back.
Yeah, because when Finn doesn't really specify anybody, and I was kind of hoping that he would have cited Shinsuke on his own, even though, again, I like Balor. I mean, he gave an interview. Yeah.
If Nakamura was in the same wrestling promotion as you, would you want to fight him?
I don't think so. But I will say, obviously, look, I like Finn. I respect him. I've been waiting for him to drop that belt, forever now. But I mean, he gave an interview, I think a little bit ago, where he said, I'm in a great spot with NXT. I'm proud to be the standard bearer. I'm proud to be NXT champion. And yeah, my goal ultimately is to have a WrestleMania match, but I love what I'm doing right now. But then you talk about the prospect of a Finn Balor Shinsuke Nakamura match for that NXT championship. And if anybody is going to end that reign of Finn Balor, I'm just convinced it just has to be Shinsuke. I don't know, though, because that's been a hot topic of debate. Would Shinsuke win the championship, or would he lose and get called up? Another person that just kind of passes Balor by, of Balor's own volition, I might add. Because I think the moment he'd be like, okay, I've done everything I can for NXT, time for me to get called up, I mean, that paperwork would be done quicker than you could even think about it. But I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting matchup when it happens, not just for the in-ring stuff, for all just the extraneous environment in general, like who's going where, how do we arrange these pieces? But yeah, to your point, they clearly want us to think about it.
Yeah. I love that, though, that they're just kind of putting them in the same breath together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the best kind of marketing, right? Is even if the thought wasn't there for a lot of people, which I think we were already kind of jumping to, oh my God, Nakamura, Balor potentially. I mean, it's there now. And What makes this significant is it's not us saying it, it's not any other reviewer saying it, it's WWE saying it. So they're saying, yeah, this match is going to happen. Because you don't do that tease and then not go full circle with it. So Nakamura, next number one contender, I almost just want to come out and say confirmed. So We'll see.
All right, up next, we had our third match of the night, and I would say our second best match of the night. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. It's a tag team match. Gargano and Ciampa versus the Vaudevillains. This was a solid match. Nothing really to write home about by any means, but it was fun. And the finish was Tommaso Ciampa getting Simon Gotch to tap out to that bridging Fujiwara armbar.
See, and I gotta be honest, this was my match of the night tonight. I loved how these two teams worked together. Yeah, I loved it.
See, for me, it was the main event, and it's not even close.
Yeah, and that's understandable. I mean, look at who all was involved. Shinsuke Nakamura and Tye Dillinger. And for you personally, I know you love both guys, and I know what they did in the match itself, not to disservice, that was great. But then you take this match, I love the Vaudevillains, and I feel like Ciampa and Gargano, while it surprises me that it seems to be a tease they're going to elevate in the tag team division, they're going to go up, which I love because that means that sooner or later it may very well be Ciampa and Gargano versus American Alpha, and oh my God, I'm drooling just thinking about it.
I don't know, man. I think that they might have just used this match as sort of a vehicle to continue the singles push of Ciampa and have some window dressing on the side.
I mean, I'm fine with that too. I mean, you and I have talked about Tommaso Ciampa doing singles in NXT, as a heel for the last little bit. I'm still all on board with that. I just really enjoyed this match. I particularly enjoyed the heel work of the Vaudevillains, and I don't think we're going to see heel work like this from them on the main roster. I think they're going to be more reserved. They are going to be more, that throwback kind of get. But there was an intensity here, particularly on Aiden English's part. I liked how animated he was. One moment that caught my eye, he hung Gargano's arm on the rope, and he just started laughing, and he had this smile on his face. He was so proud of himself. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think Gargano and Ciampa have such a great energy as a team that if I am right, on the one hand, and they do, again, start to elevate in the tag team division, that's great. You have got a very likable, very talented team here. And I think the crowd was so into them. And, again, it doesn't hurt that you're working with great heels in this case. I mean, the Vaudevillains, I think, were very on tonight. This is a great night for them, and just a great back-and-forth match. And, yeah, the finishing sequence was awesome, and that arm submission continues to gain credibility that Ciampa's been using. I still want to – and that's the thing, Tommaso Ciampa's stock is at a point where whether it's him and Gargano versus American Alpha or Ciampa eventually facing Finn Balor or whoever the NXT champion is, I'm made. Because the guy is just doing so well right now. He's wrestling out of his mind right now, just doing amazing work. So, great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a good match. I definitely agree with you on that. Up next, we had probably my favorite non-match segment of the night. Alex Reyes interviewing Tye Dillinger. And, he asks him what it's going to be like to compete with Shinsuke Nakamura later tonight. And he goes, no. He is the one who's competing with me. And also, he didn't say he said Shinsuke, like overemphasizing the enunciation of Nakamura's name, is going to be having a match with me later tonight. And when I beat him and I send him packing back home to Japan to go back to his homeland, he's going to get a hero's welcome. And then he's going to get to tell people what it was like to lose to a perfect 10. And then he walks out, and then he comes back into frame with a sign that says 3 and puts it in Alex Reyes' suit jacket.
Yeah.
This was great. I freaking love this.
This was great. I mean, this is what it means to have a developed character and running with it.
Yeah.
Because every time he talks about how he's a perfect 10, it is gold. And this was, distinctly different from his other promos, but it has those same common elements. I'm a perfect 10. My opponent is not. But he uses the particulars of the opponent, and it just becomes a whole new promo. He frames it differently, and I really appreciate that. It's not a same tired line. Tye Dillinger understands context. He knows what that is, so he contextualizes his promos accordingly. Who's my opponent? Well, I'll work that in there, and it's just great stuff. And I love the little card, with Alex Reyes, you said was the interview? Yeah, I mean, just giving him the 3 card. That was a great touch. I'm telling you, this is the type of gimmick, and we just got done talking about it in the opener, and you were the one that put it out there, that really could work on the main roster if they wanted it to. That could really be in that spot of like going after a Kalisto or an Apollo Crews or whoever the IC champion could be, respectively, and be in that mechanic spot. I feel like on NXT, with how Full Sail is, I still believe this guy could be a main eventer, and that's saying a lot given that we have Joe, Balor, and now Shinsuke freaking Nakamura, all running things here. But I still believe Dillinger has the potential. More so as a babyface, though, I'd specify. And he was clearly working heel here. But just great stuff all the same. We've got a quality performer because it's a guy that embraces the character that he is and gives it 120% with just all the work that he does. And he definitely deserves more than what he's getting no matter where he is, be it NXT or when he get called up to the main roster. Just hope they use him right when that happens.
Yeah. All right. So I've got a little bit of a Tye Dillinger fantasy booking that I'm going to do later on in the night.
All right. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I look forward to it. So what came
said up next was our 4th match of the night, Tucker Knight versus Baron Corbin. Basically a squash. Corbin wins with, I believe it was with the End of Days, right?
Yeah. End of Days. They always go for that great visual with the End of Days on bigger guys, it seems like.
And I do want to say, I want to give credit to NXT and the WWE as a whole, because I'm assuming it was intentional. If it wasn't, then I'll take the compliment back, I guess. But I love the timing of calling Corbin up now, because you see tonight, not only was he a little bit more getting a positive reception from the crowd, but the crowd counted to 3 with the ref when Corbin won the match. And that's a sign that the crowd likes you and that they wanted you to win. And that's not a good sign for a heel. So they picked a great time to call him up.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I think that may have been in part because Tucker Knight did not seem received well at all. In fact, there was one stray guy in the audience when the music died down and he could be audible. Was like, your jacket is stupid. So I don't think Tucker Knight made that connection, which again is obvious. Obvious reasons. Not really a developed character, not really a developed anything going on for Tucker Knight right now.
Yeah.
Harmless match, but Baron Corbin gets the win, which was the right call. For example, if it was a guy, say, like, No Way Jose, it would make more sense for Baron Corbin to lose because he's on the way out anyway. But no way you'd want him to go out losing to a guy like Tucker Knight. So I don't know if Baron Corbin's going to be competing anymore in NXT or if that was just his business, like one last declaration, because commentary even seemed to make it seem that way. Like, oh, he's just one last kind of punctuation, like, I run this place, whatever. But it was the right call. Baron Corbin wins. I'm liking how he's being used on the main roster. NXT, I really wish he would have gotten to that, upper echelon, that NXT championship picture, never even held the gold. But I'll deal with it. And, yeah, Baron Corbin dominates.
Yep. All right. Tell you what, John, I'm going to just tell you what the next segment was, and I'm going to let you take the ball and, score with it. We had Gable and Jordan talking about the building that they won the titles in.
Yeah, the same building that the Beatles played in, and, they're just talking about the history of it. And then Jason Jordan is saying, and the building where we, found our potential, where we reached our potential as NXT Tag Team. And they do that double turnaround and the smile, and I'm like, I love the jackets, and oh my God, I'm so into it. And American Alpha NXT Tag Team Champions. But they get greeted by Enzo and Cass. And see, I like this because Enzo and Cass, they had a very personal rivalry with the Revival. For them, it wasn't even just about the NXT Tag Team titles. You tried to end Big Cass's career. You tried to take the bread out of his mouth, which affects Enzo as well because they are a team. So he depends on Cass as well to keep the bread in his mouth. And really, it's just about the friendship. And you tried taking that away. And yet Enzo and Cass couldn't get it done. And American Alpha did. And I sensed a hint of that here. Not really too much. They never even really went into the history with Enzo and Cass and the Revival. But they said, congratulations. You guys are awesome. You deserve it. I can't say that I'm, not happy to see it. But, Enzo and Cass also say, we've been here the longest. All these teams, we've seen every kind of team, come through here. And we've stood the test of time. And ultimately, they lay down the gauntlet. We won a match with American Alpha. It's the one tag team match that really hasn't seemed to happen yet. And we just want to know what you're made of and what we're made of, standing across from you. And they shake hands on it. Jordan and Gable seem very warmed up to the idea. And it seems like this is going to be a match that takes place down the road. Not for the titles, because they even said it doesn't have to be for the titles. We just want to crack at it. And I really liked it. I felt like Enzo and Cass weren't stepping on American Alpha's toes. It's funny because as much as I love Enzo and Cass, had they come in with their typical personalities and verbally cut down, American Alpha and were just really them, as excellent as that is, I think it would have been a nitpick for me because I feel like this should have been like American Alpha's moment. Now it's like the first thing they do since winning the titles, and that should really be established. So I really applaud how this was handled. This is really well done.
I agree. I'm looking forward to this match too. I know obviously American Alpha is winning, but I'm definitely curious to see how brutal this match can get.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And that's the thing. Just American Alpha as champions now just gets me so excited, even more excited for the NXT Tag Team division.
It's part of their name, but as champions, they really do feel like alpha dogs.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. And the NXT Tag Team division was already in a great place before, but now that American Alpha are the champions, I am just so excited. I mean, again, just even thinking about that one matchup in our discussion prior, potentially American Alpha versus Ciampa and Gargano, which may not happen, but it's on the table, when you see teams compete. And it's just a great feeling. And yeah, I'm definitely very excited about Enzo and Cass versus American Alpha.
Yeah. So up next was our fifth match of the night. This is another quicker one, Bayley versus Liv Morgan. One thing that I will say about Liv Morgan, whether you really see her as like a really vital talent or anything like that, one thing that I really noticed with her tonight, she sells like a beast.
Yeah, definitely. Sell game is definitely on point.
And bumps. She takes crazy bumps too. She's got like that female Ziggler vibe going on.
Yeah, and see, there is somebody in Liv Morgan, even though she's been competing a bit longer than Tess Blanchard in NXT, and we have more of an exposure with Liv Morgan. I feel like there's just more of an upside to her overall. Yeah. I don't really know if I'm crazy about the gimmick, but again, you're in the right place. Maybe some fine-tuning would take place. Maybe they want to run with it, but regardless, there's definitely an upside there. And this is a fun match. Good back and forth, I think, at the right moments, but ultimately Bayley did win with the Hugplex. After that, she gets a microphone. She addresses the crowd. I mean, the crowd, too. It really says something because I wanted to comment, although I could be in the wrong here. It seemed like the arena was unusually quiet for tonight's episode. I didn't get the same energy that I feel like we normally do, but Bayley is still a freaking rock star, for NXT fans everywhere.
Yep.
Because, they did the, hey, we want some Bayley, and they did the whole singing, will you be my girl, the whole shebang. And Bayley, just has reiterated what she's kind of been saying since her loss. It's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. And I will get back up, and I will be standing, and I'll always be standing for you guys. And that's when I said to you in conversation, how cool would it be if at the next takeover, Asuka and Bayley kind of set a new trend? Because in NXT, we've had a ladder match. That was Adrian Neville and Bo Dallas. We've had an Iron Woman match, Sasha Banks and Bayley. What about a last woman standing match? You know, because Bayley, that emphasis on standing, that just kind of sparked the idea in my head. I would love it. Or maybe, maybe they would do, because it was more like Bayley passed out and I quit match, but I think that'd be a horrible booking decision, because I don't think Bayley should be the type to quit. Although, then again, I've always complained about John Cena being, this unbreakable guy. Maybe it would be a great human moment for Bayley, but I just worry more about Asuka having to deal with the aftermath, because then I'd be convinced Bayley would go up to the main roster, Asuka would be left to clean up the mess, and I get scared, because I want Asuka to be received positively, unless her going heel is the plan, but I've gotten no vibe from that. So yeah, I think a last woman standing match would be the best way to go. Maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't, but this is a nice promo from Bayley here.
Yeah. I mean, it's good enough,
Yeah, it's Bayley.
Exactly.
She's never been exemplary on the mic, but she's so likable.
She connects so much otherwise that she's kind of got that can do no wrong aura about her.
Exactly. Well, I think everything
she's
she
basically
said,
female Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Without being amazing in the ring like he was.
Exactly, but I think there's an authenticity to Bayley that people gravitate to, and I think that just kind of I don't want to say she coasts on it, because that would imply that she's lazy, but I think she is able to get by. Yeah, perfectly said.
All right. Up next was our main event of the evening, Tye Dillinger versus Shinsuke Nakamura. This was such a good match. And it's not even like, oh my God, 5-star instant classic. It was just so entertaining to me. I loved this match.
Yeah, I mean, this match was a hell of a lot of fun. I think my personal favorite moment, because I've just seemingly been about all the little things on tonight's episode of NXT, when Tye does the whole, Carl in the 10, in Nakamura's face. I like that Nakamura's just bobbing his head along with it. Like, all right. I can just picture him thinking in his head, I hope you're having fun, Dillinger, because in about a few minutes, all that fun's going to come crashing down around you, and there's going to be nothing left but pain and agony. And that's exactly what happened, because when Nakamura got in that second gear, man, it was all over. Strikes for days. Dillinger, man. But he did get some good offense. Dillinger got an impressive super kick at one point, which only got a 1 count, though. Nakamura 2 OP. And Shinsuke just kept battling back, doing his thing, and ultimately he did get the win with, what are they calling his knee now? Did you catch it, Ashton?
The Kinshasa.
The Kinshasa.
Yeah.
I already like it better, because I botched the pronunciation of, I'm not even going to say it here.
The Bomaye?
The Bomaye, yep. I've botched that so many times. Fuck that name. So, yeah, this will work.
Did you know that he named the Bomaye on the, it was a big boxing match, and I think it was Tyson versus someone, or no, I want to say it was Foreman Ali, or Frazier, I don't know. But it was a big boxing match. It was called the Rumble in the Jungle. And Bomaye means kill him, and I guess commentary used that a lot that night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was what he used the Bomaye name for, but it took place in a place called Kinshasa. So again, sticking to the theme of the Rumble in the Jungle, yeah, we're rolling with Kinshasa now. So it's the place that it was rather than what commentary said.
Kinshasa. I can work with that. Until
next week when you call it the Chinkasa.
Screw you. That's not happening. Well, I'll tell you what is happening, though. Nakamura's momentum going up and up. And I'm not even just talking about wins. This crowd loved him. I think every crowd will love him, because how can you not love Shinsuke Nakamura? Exactly. Although I'm sure those people are out there. It's just, just have fun there on that island. I'm sure you've got...
Yeah, how does it feel to have the same personality as Brian from Family Guy?
Wow! Visceral. Holy shit. But yeah, Nakamura gets the win. And just great stuff, fun matchup. And again, Tye Dillinger, being one of the most reliable workers in NXT, was trusted to work Sami Zayn's return match. I now got to work Nakamura's NXT debut, so this is really cool. But Ashton, I want to give the floor to you, because you said you had some Tye Dillinger fantasy booking. I didn't want to lose sight of that, so the floor is yours.
You know what? It's been a really long time since we've seen something like in the WWE.
What's that?
A custom championship, a superstar signature championship. We had the $1 million title. That was even defended. Virgil won it at one point. We even had, very recently, the internet title, but it was never recognized and it was never defended, right?
That's right.
I think Tye Dillinger needs the 10 championship. And I think that he needs to defend it, but in matches where if you last, where basically you have to beat him in under 10 minutes in order to win it from him. And he just delays the hell out of every single match till the 10-minute timer runs out, and then he retains the title.
I love that idea. Yeah. And to me, I could just picture the belt looking gorgeous, because only the best for a perfect 10, of course.
Well, imagine the NXT title, but instead of the big X, it would be a big 10.
Yeah, there you go. And we have the gimmick complete. We have the gimmick actually manifesting a championship. And here's the thing, that could lead to quality stuff for Dillinger to do it. Because, I mean, let's be honest, I do appreciate the guy as a worker. I've been nothing but complimentary tonight. But him doing anything at this point, any kind of program, would be above what he's doing now, which is putting on really great matches, but really no narrative going on or anything.
What's really cool, too, is you could even, he could even say, if he wanted to challenge Finn for the NXT title, right? They could do a double title match where winner takes all, but if it goes over 10 minutes, Dillinger automatically retains, and then Finn can pin him, and it would be nothing changes. Both guys keep their titles.
Right. That'd be so cool, man.
Yeah, I just think that they could do a lot with that. You get the 10 title or the 10 championship or the perfect 10 championship. That sounded cool. The perfect 10 championship. And yeah, Tye invents the championship, and then, he says that he'll defend it, but if you can't beat him in under 10 minutes, he's keeping the title. And every single challenger would take, 11, 12, or really, you wouldn't even continue the match. You'd get to 10 minutes because you would have a timer running down on the Titantron, and as soon as it reaches 10, or I guess it wants to count down from 10, as soon as it hits 0, Dillinger would just roll out of the ring, grab the title, and walk out. And
exactly.
And he's supposed to be a heel, so it would be great at getting him hated and getting him heat. And then you could also use it to build up a babyface, because you could have a babyface go after him and, have Dillinger pull his stalling tactics to win the first match. But then in the second match, or even if you want to build to some kind of a stipulation match, you have the babyface beat him in a minute. And then it makes the babyface look awesome. It doesn't really hurt Dillinger because he was never really winning his matches. He was just not losing in under 10 minutes. And it also kind of gives that new babyface then something to work with because, they have this 10 championship now. I just think that there's a lot you could do with it.
Right. And, on the flip side, maybe you would have, because I don't know what the life of the belt would be, but just kind of playing around with it a little bit. You have Dillinger lose it. Maybe you have a nice line of succession. Maybe a really dominant heel or something wins it. Maybe like a Baron Corbin-esque heel that just wins their matches in really decisive fashion. Maybe Dillinger decides he wants it back.
Or another really cool thing is they could actually have him lose it to someone, and on the day he loses it to that person, he could say, I want everyone to know I'm officially retiring the Perfect 10 Championship.
Oh, dick move. I love it, though.
I brought it into this world. I'm taking it out. And then you could even use that if you want to for William Regal to be like, Dillinger was kind of a dick about it, but I like the idea of having a championship where it has to be defended within a certain time limit. And that allows you to reintroduce an Iron Man sort of title. And I know a lot of people want a mid-card title in NXT, and with all these ridiculous talent additions that they keep on getting, I'm beginning to kind of feel like, maybe you need one. And especially with the Cruiserweight series coming up, they're going to add a bunch more talent out of that pool.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about, it's been a while since, this name was brought up, but that 15-minute championship, the medal
FCW
back in FCW.
15, yeah.
Yeah, FCW 15 championship, just bring that back, but of course rebrand it NXT. And, or just something similar to that concept.
Yep.
And yeah, I love it because I think what you started with Dillinger, first of all, it just demonstrates quality heel work. And heel work of such a quality that we introduce a new concept to NXT overall through William Regal. Yeah. So I love it, dude. I think that's an amazing idea.
I think that was really cool. So that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to get that off my chest. I've been thinking about that for a while. And we can move on.
Absolutely. Let us know what you guys think of Ashton's fantasy booking, because I loved it, and I'd like to get more feedback on that. But for now, go on to our next segment. High spots and low shots. My low shot, Tessa Blanchard. Rough night, debut, loses to Alexa Bliss, and, well, I would actually say pretty dominant fashion, because when you say, I've got you now, and then the person responds by throttling you by the throat, slamming you down, and then driving their knees into your abdomen, you don't got anything. And then pinning you for a 3 count. And then pinning you for a 3 count, thank you. You don't really have anything. In fact, you do have something, you have nothing. So, I was going to
say, you have a big L on your record.
That's true. That's true. So, there you go. Who's your low shot?
My low shot is Angelo Dawkins, because he had a lot of hype and he had a huge size advantage over Austin Aries, and just couldn't get the job done, man.
No, he could not. Not against the greatest man that ever lived, or so says Austin Aries anyway.
Well, I was just going to say, the self-proclaimed greatest man that ever lived.
All right, my high spot. You know what? My high spot, because I just really enjoyed it, is going to be Gargano and Ciampa. I thoroughly enjoyed that tag team match. They looked great in it. I do think I'd prefer Tommaso Ciampa to keep doing singles work as a heel, because I see something really great there. But if they are going to start to elevate in the tag team division, I mean, that's just another quality tag team match. Gargano and Ciampa versus American Alpha for the titles. Oh, my God. So, yeah, for right now, these guys are my high spot. We'll see where it goes.
All right. Well, I'm just going to kind of play some back and forth here. My high spot is Shinsuke Nakamura. I just want to get that out of the way just up front. It seems obvious. But my honorary high spot is still going to go to Tye Dillinger, because not only did he help Nakamura to put on a really entertaining match in this main event, but that promo at the beginning of the show was awesome.
Yeah.
Or not beginning of the show, but earlier on in the show I thought was awesome.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. Quality character work. I mean, I just was so impressed with Dillinger tonight. I haven't made a single, kind of perfect 10 joke or whatever, and that's going to continue. I'm not even going to pull out anything last second. He had a great night tonight as a performer, and that's what this is all about. And he definitely deserves more than what he's got. So I, formally sign on to your fantasy booking. Let's get that Perfect 10 championship made and then later rebranded as the NXT, either, 15-man championship or whatever you want to do with it. And let's get this show on the road. But with
rather than specifically calling it a 15-minute championship, because, in FCW, if you would defend the title in a 15-minute match and went to a draw, you would get a rematch, and if the first 2 15-minute matches ended up in draws, you'd get a 20-minute match, and then if that ended up in a draw, they'd take it to 30. So you call it 15, but then there are matches that aren't 15 minutes. I think it's easiest just to call it the NXT Iron Man Championship.
There you go. Any concluding remarks about tonight's episode of NXT?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to kind of conclude my my high spot with, because Dillinger was my honorary high spot. Right. Nakamura is my actual high spot because he's Shinsuke freaking Nakamura. He had an amazing match tonight. He had a win tonight, which is also incredibly important. And he was mentioned in the same breath as Finn Balor's number 1 contender. So I think that spells a bright future, a bright immediate future even, for Nakamura in NXT. Here's to hoping he gets called up at some point between now and the Raw after SummerSlam. But in that meantime, I'm perfectly cool with him going after the title, and I think that's definitely an inevitable match.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So with that said, guys, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Ashton, what question do you have for our subscribers this week?
Who do you think No Way Jose's first opponent is going to be?
Excellent question. All right, guys, begin the speculation down in the comments below. Be sure to take that conversation over to Pweetoff. That is, Pro Wrestling is taking over Facebook. A lot of NXT fans on Pweetoff. You'll fit right in. Also, be sure to check out the TWitWoW Facebook page. Like, share, and comment on the content there. If Facebook isn't your medium of choice, we are also on Reddit. On the TWitWoW subreddit, you will find all of our TWitWoW content, and members of the TWitWoW subreddit can create threads of their own on all things related to pro wrestling. But if you want the absolute best experience with TWitWoW, at the ground level, it is best to follow us both on Twitter. I am at John_TwitWoW. That is JOHN_TwitWoW. Ashton is at apond404. That's the letter A, pond, the body of water, POND 404. And we will see you again for our Thursday night SmackDown review, where we will see the Vaudevillains take on Golden Truth to advance in the WWE Tag Team Championship Tournament. Will the Vaudevillains prevail, or will Golden Truth make my dreams of the Vaudevillains advancing the first picture of Shattered Dreams Productions? Until then, tune in and peace out.